In 1939, the world stood on the edge of disaster. Nations still remembered the horror of the First World War, yet they walked directly into an even greater catastrophe. Economic collapse, political extremism, and unresolved hatred had created a fragile global balance, and it was about to shatter. What followed would become the deadliest conflict in human history: World War II. The roots of the war began long before the first shot was fired. After World War I, Germany was left humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles. Its economy collapsed, its military was crippled, and its people lived in anger and despair. Out of this chaos rose Adolf Hitler, a charismatic speaker who promised to restore German pride, rebuild the nation, and punish those he blamed for its suffering. By the early 1930s, Hitler and the Nazi Party had taken control of Germany, transforming it into a totalitarian state driven by extreme nationalism, racism, and expansionism. At the same time, other powers were moving toward aggression. In Italy, Benito Mussolini dreamed of rebuilding the Roman Empire. In Japan, military leaders sought dominance in Asia and the Pacific. The League of Nations, created to preserve peace, proved weak and ineffective. One by one, international rules were broken without consequence. Germany rearmed, it remilitarized the Rhineland, it annexed Austria. Then it demanded parts of Czechoslovakia. Each time, the world hesitated, hoping war could be avoided. But peace built on fear could not last. In September 1, 1939, German forces invaded Poland using a terrifying new tactic called blitzkrieg, or lightning war. Tanks, aircraft, and infantry moved with unprecedented speed and coordination. Poland collapsed within weeks. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. At first, the war moved rapidly in Germany's favor. In 1940, Nazi forces swept through Denmark and Norway, then turned west. France, considered one of Europe's strongest military powers, fell in just 6 weeks. Paris was occupied. Britain stood alone, facing relentless bombing during the Battle of Britain. Night after night, German aircraft attacked cities, trying to break civilian morale. But Britain did not surrender. For the first time, Hitler's advance was stopped. In 1941, the war expanded dramatically. Hitler made a fatal decision. He broke his non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union and launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history. Millions of German troops poured into Soviet territory. At first, they advanced quickly, capturing vast areas of land. But the Soviet Union was enormous, and winter came early and brutal. Supply lines stretched thin, resistance hardened. The war in the East became unimaginably brutal, marked by mass executions, starvation, and destruction. That same year, another event changed the course of the war forever. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. Battleships burned, hundreds of planes were destroyed, over 2,000 Americans were killed. The next day, the United States declared war on Japan. Germany soon declared war on the United States as well. The conflict was now truly global. As the war intensified, its human cost became overwhelming. Civilians were no longer spared. Cities were bombed, entire populations were displaced, and behind the front lines, one of history's greatest crimes was unfolding. The Nazi regime carried out the Holocaust, a systematic genocide that murdered 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, including Roma, disabled individuals, political opponents, and prisoners of war. Industrialized death camps were built for the sole purpose of mass murder. It was a crime so vast that it permanently scarred humanity. By 1942, the tide of the war began to turn. In the Pacific, American forces stopped Japanese expansion at the Battle of Midway, destroying much of Japan's carrier fleet. In North Africa, Allied forces defeated German troops, securing vital territory. On the Eastern Front, the Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point. After months of brutal fighting, the German Sixth Army was surrounded and destroyed. It was Germany's first major defeat, and it shattered the myth of Nazi invincibility. From that point on, the Axis powers were slowly pushed back. The Soviet Union advanced westward at an enormous cost in lives. In the West, Britain and the United States prepared for the largest amphibious invasion in history. On June 6, 1944, Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy in Nazi-occupied France. D-Day marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. Fighting was fierce, but the Allies advanced steadily towards Germany. As Allied armies closed in, the Nazi regime collapsed from within. Cities lay in ruins, resources exhausted. In April 1945, Soviet troops reached Berlin. Adolf Hitler, hiding in a bunker beneath the city, took his own life. On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally. The war in Europe was over. But the conflict continued in the Pacific. Japan fought on despite devastating losses. Island by island, American forces advanced closer to the Japanese mainland. Casualties on both sides were enormous. Fearing that a full invasion would cost millions of lives, the United States made a controversial decision. In August 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction was immediate and catastrophic. Days later, Japan surrendered. World War II was over. The war left the world transformed. Over 60 million people were dead. Entire cities were destroyed. Europe lay in ruins. But from the devastation emerged a new global order. The United Nations was created to prevent future conflicts. Former allies soon became rivals, leading to the Cold War. New technologies born from war reshaped everyday life. World War II was more than a military conflict. It was a warning, a reminder of how fragile civilization can be when fear, hatred, and ambition go unchecked. And it remains one of the most important lessons in human history, a lesson written in blood, sacrifice, and hope that such destruction is never repeated.